Welcome to Let's Freedom Ring. As always, well, at this point, we're keeping Nick out of the studio here, who is the head of the studio. I have to pay out of my own pocket, so I've had to take a second part-time job just to make sure I can afford to do that, but it's worth it keeping Nick out. That being said, we have Karate Kid stuff on the table like they've requested, but it's irregardless to that. But my guest this week, Jerry Holland, welcome to the show.
Great to thank you very much.
And I have to say, Jerry, I probably would not be playing softball again if it wasn't for you and performance. So happy to have you.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
But let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Originally, I was born in Boston, if you couldn't tell by my accent. Lived in the city till about second grade. Then we moved down to the South Shore. Grew up in Weymouth. That's where I graduated high school from. And then I eventually matriculated to use ULowell, and then after that ended up in New Hampshire.
Nice, nice. That's kind of my parents were from like Revere and Malden, and I feel like there was a time where like a lot of people from Massachusetts were like, "I'm going to New Hampshire." Was that kind of like what was for you, or was it like job related?
I'm not going to lie to you. No, if somebody told me 35 years ago that I'd be living up here, I'd probably say no effing way. Typical Mass all, but. It's been tremendous. It's really worked out great. I couldn't have asked for a better life. It's been great.
Awesome, awesome. Now, what's 3 things that everybody should know about you?
I'm first generation. My parents are from Ireland.
Okay.
I'm one of 6. My wife is one of 8. We met in college, and I'm actually a dual citizen. I joke with my kids. I'm like Jason Bourne. I got multiple passports. Obviously born and raised in the United States, but because of my parents being from Ireland, I have an Irish passport as well, which is kind of cool because of the European Union. It's almost like being a citizen of all those other countries too. So it's kind of cool. So,
all right. How did they decide they want to come to the United States?
Well, like a lot of immigrants, they came here, and I got to think now. My parents just turned. My mother 92 a few weeks ago. My dad is 90, and they came to the Boston area. I got to think now about 67 years ago, and they got married in Boston. But that was a common thing. My mother's one of 13,
wow.
My dad's one of 4. So that was a very common thing. You know, immigrants from all over the place, but especially Ireland. So that's kind of why they came, just for a better life.
Oh, that's pretty cool. On my mom's side, I think they left during the potato famine. And that's how her side of the family ended up in the United States.
Yep.
But no, that's awesome. Well, this is a good question because we ask everybody this theme of the show, being first generation American. What does it mean to you to be an American?
It's a tremendous opportunity. I got a chance to go to Ireland in my mid to late 20s, and it was awesome to see where I came from. But the opportunities we've had in this country, so I greatly appreciated my parents for making that. Big life change for themselves, and you know, I'm the first one to go to college in my family. So it's I've been very, very fortunate.
Awesome, good answer. Because we asked that again with the theme of the show, and we get a lot of different answers on that question. Let's get to know a little bit though about your career, because you're like a staple of the Nashua community. People know you.
Yeah, that's probably because I've been around for a while. So I migrated north of the border. I worked. When I got out of college, my wife and I, Michelle and I, we met in school. Again, it was ULowell at the time. And when we were in college, we worked for this physical therapy clinic in North Andover. It was part-time, just as an aide. And one of the physical therapists there was Ed Lacerte. Well, he decided to open a clinic in Nashua. And right around the same time he opened his clinic, he got the head athletic training position for the Boston Celtics. So I was working for him. And that's kind of how I ended up north of the border, so to speak. I worked with some high schools in Massachusetts at the time as well after we got out of college, and I wanted to do the same thing in New Hampshire. And so then I introduced myself to Al Harrington, the AD, and that's kind of how they went in and met Frank Yosikas that day as well, another name from Nashua that's been around a long time, and it just kind of snowballed. Their athletic trainer at the time, for about a year or so, he moved on, and I kind of became it. And then in 1992, Michelle and I opened our own clinic, and it just kind of snowballed from there, I guess.
Now, how did it all start, though? Like, did you decide you wanted to be a PT athletic trainer in college, or is this like a lifelong thing that you always wanted to do?
No, when I was in high school, I played a lot of sports. With 6 kids in the house, I wouldn't do anything to get out of the house. As far as instead of having to do chores, but I played a lot of sports as a kid growing up. Didn't matter what it was, just loved to play. I initially, when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be an architect. I went to Wentworth Institute of Technology for a year, and realized that it just wasn't what I wanted to do. And since it was on my dime, I decided to take a step back, see what I was going to do. I was taking some classes at UMass Boston. And then I got injured. I actually banged up my ankle pretty good just playing pickup hoop with one of my brothers and sisters. Had to have physical therapy, kind of found it fascinating. I had a really good athletic trainer in high school. I still remember his name, Roger Abel. He was a good guy. And one thing led to another, and looked at different schools, and ULO was the place for me. So that's how and then I just loved it. And since then, that's kind of how it all kind of played out.
Is this, like, the schooling for that pretty challenging, or did you find, like, because you were passionate about it, it was easier, or was it, it sounds tough. I know a lot of people.
PT is a medical profession, and what I've always told kids, like sometimes I'd be, guest speaker at the high school or whatever, and kids will ask me that question, is it hard, is it this, and I'd always say, I go, what's hard is working second or third shift, making next to nothing, having 3 kids, that's hard. I said, so, but yeah, it was definitely challenging, like any healthcare profession or any major, you got to keep your GPA up and right to the very end. And but it's something I really enjoyed. And then meeting Ed Lacert kind of really got going as far as the athletic training aspect as well, which I really enjoyed. So I like being both. I think being a physical therapist makes me a better certified athletic trainer. And being a certified athletic trainer, I think, makes me a better physical therapist. So.
Awesome. Now, how did performance start? Now, you said you started that in 89?
Yeah, no, 1992.
92, I'm sorry.
So I was working for Ed, and he was getting busier and busier with the Celtics. He had a partner as well, and I was working with those guys for about 4 years. I could kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit. I could kind of tell, because, they were starting a business with 2 partners, and then Ed's connection with the Celtics just kind of took off. I mean, he was there for 30 years. That's a long time. And we just had an opportunity, Michelle and I, we didn't have any children. She's a physical therapist and a certified athletic trainer as well. And I knew a bunch of the docs, and we said, what the hell, we gave it a shot. And that's how it all came to be. We talked about it in college, though. Like, we were in school, we said it'd kind of be cool about 5-6 years out to have our own place. And that's how it worked out. Almost 5 years, so yeah.
Is it stressful starting that? Like, because it's essentially starting your own business. So.
We started from scratch. We went into the building directly across the street from what is now Nashua High School South, on the 2nd floor of this building, and we had to do all the fit up ourselves. We had to make a business plan. We had to go to the banks, put on the suit, the whole bit. That was different. We had to, it was definitely a challenge, but you're young and you don't. A little naive, a little bit.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate. Someone was looking out for us, I think, and that's kind of how it all played out.
Awesome. Now, I got to ask this because I've been to performance in high school, and then as an adult later when I tore my rotator cuff. We went through some crazy times over the last 2 years.
Yep.
What's the pandemic like at the start at performance?
Well, it's interesting. Like the whole world was affected, right? So being in healthcare, we were considered essential workers. But at the same time, no one seemed to know what the heck was going on. I mean, if you listened to everything you saw in the news, it was going to be like an episode of The Walking Dead. There's going to be bodies in the street. Like, you really didn't know. So we decided on our own that we were going to close for 2 weeks. And that was a tough decision because the clinic was our first family. We had that before we had our first child. And so that was definitely, that Friday, I can still remember when we were closing. It was very strange because you don't know, are you going to open up again? Like, you like to think you are. So we did some telehealth visits. My wife, Michelle, did a phenomenal job with that. And then when we came back, it was April 13th, 2020. And it was easy to remember because that's Michelle's birthday, the 13th. So that's kind of like our start date 2.0. And when we came back, it was just me and one of my trustee assistant, Bill Klaus, who's been with us for a long time.
Yeah, I know
Billy's
Bill.
been great. He's
Yeah.
a certified athletic trainer and the office manager, and he's done a lot of work throughout. He's been around a long time. He's a Merrimack kid. And it was just him and me. We'd schedule a patient on the hour. They'd be booked for 45 minutes. We'd 15 minutes to clean the table, and we just did it. And when you were there, there's more than one person in there usually. The place was rocking, and it's pretty good. And then we slowly built it up. And the nice thing was the patients were thrilled to come back because we treat, as you know, when you were there, we treat injured patients, but they're not sick. We don't treat cancer patients and whatnot, and they're all orthopedic injuries. And not that they're not, can be serious, but it's different. An ACL tear isn't contagious. A rotator cuff tear isn't contagious. So we were always strict with our cleaning protocol anyways, and we just stayed on top of that. And then it just slowly ramped up. Our lead therapist, Jeremy, came back. He's actually a Merrimack guy as well originally. He came back the following week, and he did the same thing. And then we just slowly kind of picked up the pace, and we were fortunate. We got tons of loyal patients. It's like I always said, it's kind of like a good restaurant. If you get a good meal, you're going to tell somebody, and you're going to come back. And we've been fortunate. I have 2 families now that I'm on my 3rd generation of the family treating them. So we're either pretty good or pretty old, maybe a little bit of both, but that's kind of how. But we were fortunate, and we actually get very busy. And I think, sometimes in tough times, things will separate, and I like to think we've seen everything in our 30-year career. That's something no one had seen, and we were very, very fortunate. And again, the loyalty of our patients and connections we have with the local docs and whatnot. So it was. I think the craziest thing was the fear of the unknown. You just didn't know, and no one really did. So, but thank God, we came out of it on top. So.
How is because I had Brandon Notsis on here before, and he's in the same building.
Correct. He's in the first floor. Yep.
Chiropractor. He's just changed the name, and it's not Nashua Chiropractor anymore. It's something else, or family. He changed the name. We'll have to look that up. But he was saying even the waiting room was tough. Did you have to separate people in there?
Well, we did. I mean, we did take out some chairs. Then you have a mask policy, obviously. But again, the people were thrilled to come in. Yeah, we definitely had more. We definitely took out some chairs in the waiting room. And what we did, again, you've been in our practice, we have a bunch of treatment tables. So we would space out. We wouldn't have patients side by side. There'd be at least one table in between. And we'd spread them out as much as we could. And I think that worked out well. I think the patients, again, they were eager to come back. They truly were. And I think that kind of, because they knew us too. So, but it worked out well.
Well, I have to say, I enjoyed going there because, when I originally tore my road, we didn't know it was torn. And I never had an MRI, so they sent me to, they just thought I dislocated it. They sent me to St. Joe's. No diss to St. Joe's, but I didn't look forward to going there. I was like, this is just miserable. The lady barely says anything to me. I just don't enjoy going. But when I went, when I found out it was torn and stuff, I was like, I'm going performance. That's where I want to be, because I remember when I fractured my ankle, that's where I went. Do you think there's just something about you that just draws people in because they like you said, it's not just the PT. I think they like the people that work there too.
Yeah, I could just be full of S too. People might think of that too as well. But we've always kind of had a different approach. Like, as you know, even on the walls of the clinic, I like putting pictures up of people we treated, and you've seen it.
I think I owed you one, but I never got it.
Exactly, and hopefully we will get it. But because it's kind of, I jokingly call it, it's like a sports bar without the beer, and there's some good stories, and patients will look, oh, I know that guy from before, or whatever the case may be. And I think a little bit of listen, people are in there because they're injured, and if we can make it a little smoother, there's strength in numbers amongst the patients. I always make it a point to introduce patients too. I think you remember that when you were there. If someone was there at the same time as you and you didn't know them, I'd introduce you. And I always introduce myself to my other therapist patients too. I think, they can go anywhere, and we appreciate them coming to see us. And the engine that drives the train is Michelle. So if they like me a little bit, they're going to like her a lot more. But we're fortunate. We got a great staff. It didn't happen by accident. But I think that's important because in any level of healthcare, you got to have a certain, obviously, you got to be smart or whatever, but what's going to differentiate you? You got to treat the patient. You're not staring at a computer. No disrespect to people who work on computers, but if you can't communicate with the patient, because there's going to be, it's not all just physical therapy. There's a lot of mental aspect to it too. Rehabbing an injury, whether it's a sports injury, a work injury, a car accident, there's a mental aspect of that too, and trying to have a little bit of empathy, have some fun, push them, because they know they're going to get pushed, as you know when you were there, and we like to think when they leave, they definitely had some work done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always look forward to going. So, what is the most challenging part of your job?
Being an owner in particular, and this is probably true for anybody who owns a business, like your mind never really totally shuts off when you leave. You're thinking of certain things, whether things are going great. If you're super busy, we need more staff. If it's a little bit slower, how do we disperse? How do we do the scheduling and stuff like that? So there's always insurance stuff you're dealing with, and you're always trying to improve your referral source with docs and whatnot. So even though technically I'm self-employed and I'm my own boss, but you still got to answer to somebody.
Yeah.
Everybody does. So that can be a challenge, and throughout the pandemic, it affects people differently. I mean, that low-grade stress for 2+ years affects everybody in different ways. So you got to kind of migrate through that as well. But that's probably been the biggest challenge, I'd say.
Is there anything challenged with working with the schools, or is that?
I truly enjoy that, and I think it's a great way to market our company. I'm not going to kid you, and I've always said that. But I think when Al Harrington asked me to come on, the job itself has morphed into a much bigger, much more professional. As far, no disrespect to who was there before, but just sports in general. I mean, we do impact testing, computer impact testing, the same thing they do in the NFL and NCAA and all MLB and whatnot. We didn't do that when you were in school, So it's taken it to the next level. Stello Stadium is there. We have beautiful facilities, and having to be in multiple places. We have a tremendous AD right now. Lisa Jingris does a phenomenal job. We have 2 high schools, right? When you were in the state, we only had the one, and dispersing that. So the challenges have improved with that. I think the coverages has gotten better. We cover more and more games now than we ever did. And that can be a challenge. But I thoroughly enjoy the coaches. I mean, myself and Scott Knight, who's the head football coach at South, we started the same year. I consider him a good friend of mine. The coaches over north, like Jason Roby was there for the longest time, and Dante, of course, who won the state title, and now Chad Zabolis has taken over. Chad played for us in the '97 title team with Coach Hardy leading the way. So I thoroughly enjoy that. It's a lot of fun, and so that's kind of, I like that connection.
My brother was on that '97 team.
That's right. Yeah. That's correct.
So, what's your favorite part of everything that you do?
I just like to interact with the patients, I jokingly say like I'm a greeter at Walmart. I like to, I find it fascinating meeting people literally from all over the world. I say, rehab or injuries, it's kind of like the DMV or the airport. You're all going to end up there sooner or later. So a shoulder is a shoulder. It doesn't matter, young, old, black, white, rich, not, whatever, and that part I enjoy. And I learn a lot from people. I find we have patients literally from, like today, we have a patient in the clinic he was from Korea originally, another gentleman from Germany, and plenty of people from Nashua and everything in between. So I find that fascinating. I do. So always asking questions and learning different things.
Awesome. No, it's got to be a lot of fun just meeting just different people on a regular basis.
It is. It truly is.
You have you got a whole page of fan questions and comments. So we're going to get through these. We might have to talk about a few individuals here. First one, Scott Mcvicker, who was one of my college roommates.
I remember Scott playing for us.
He might have, I think they made the finals in '04. He was still Nashua High.
Fall, if I'm not mistaken, the September of '04 is when Nashua's North and South technically opened.
Yeah,
so he graduated in June.
Oh,
maybe.
So '03 would have been fall '03.
Yeah, fall of '03. Yeah, that's right. Was it against Central, I think, or was it against?
I wouldn't doubt it was Central.
It might have been Central. I think.
They feel like they're always
They
there.
were up then. Yeah.
There was a picture of Scott, and Applebee's used to have a lot of the National High pictures, and I don't know if it's there anymore, but there was a picture of Scott at Applebee's for a while.
Yep.
But he wants to know, how many ankles would you say you've taped up in your long, illustrious career?
You know, it'd be I don't know, God, 33 years, 2 ankles. I have no clue, to tell you the truth. That's an interesting. I will say I've changed over the years. You know, you kind of learn different techniques, and it's kind of funny when occasionally if I'm at a Patriots game, I had a patient who had some really great season tickets, really close. And I would watch what the athletic trainers doing on the sideline for some of the plays. And I actually picked up a few different ways to do things.
Oh, okay.
So you can always learn, but thousands, Scott. It has to be thousands of ankles. I mean, that's probably the most common thing, yeah.
Now, when someone gets their ankle taped up, they're trying to go right, because I fractured my ankle. I never had to have it taped. They're trying to get back right into the game.
Well, you kind of do a determination, the level of a sprain. Obviously, if something's broken, we think it's broken, we're not going to put them back in. That's not going to happen. But if they roll it, there's different grades of sprain, 1, 2, and 3. And if the individual, first of all, if they want to try, I'm never going to force a player. But if they want to try, I'm going to do anything to get them on the field, especially if it's a big game, if it's a playoff game or whatnot. If it's a preseason scrimmage, you're going to hold the person out. It doesn't make any sense. But if it's a big-time game, we're going to do whatever we can to get them on the field. And if they're willing to try, I sure as heck am too. So that's kind of the determining factor.
Nice, nice. It's tough in high school too, because you don't want to get hurt. It only means so much, but at the same time, you'll never be in that position again in your life.
Very true. It is. And the way I describe it to like some docs, if they get upset thinking, oh, this person shouldn't play. And the way I think it is this, we have four children. They all played high school, and they all played in college. And I think we're very fortunate with that. But as a parent, I understand that not every son or daughter, they're all going to get Division I scholarships. But, maybe they get some partial money. And the way schools are now, the expense, even if a kid gets a portion of their tuition and maybe getting them on the field, I have no aspirations that the kid's going to be the next Tom Brady or Sue Bird or whatever the case may be. And when I describe it that way, the docs, they get it. I'm not like some nut who wants the kid to play. I want, if he or she has some ability and they get some good grades, this is going to help them get to the next level. So that's kind of why I attack it that way too.
That's a good way to look at it. I think sometimes parents do put too much pressure on their kids to be like, not everybody's getting a scholarship. You know?
It's not going to happen. You're right.
I actually follow a page on Facebook, the Reformed Sports Parent or something like that, and they put a lot of that stuff on there. Where,
they can, yep.
Brian Simons, I don't remember if he was a pretty good wrestler back in the day.
I remember that name.
He said, "Big get, pumped for your show." So Brian's a big fan of yours.
That's nice to hear.
I believe, and if I'm wrong on this, he might have done the Boston Marathon.
Awesome.
So
did I one time.
Oh, you did?
I've done it once. My wife's done it about 8 times.
Oh, wow.
Plus, she's done 2 Ironman triathlons. So,
oh, wow.
But no, she's the real runner for sure. But yeah, that's cool.
What year did you do that?
I did it in 1987, a hell of a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was a great experience. I still remember. My wife, she's a much better runner. Actually, one of our daughters is running marathons now. Another one's running halves. So.
Oh, very cool. I just do the ruck. That's where I'm not a runner, but I can walk for days. Those big hikers.
Sure.
So. From Heather Keeley, who does your hair?
So Heather Kelly is actually an orthopedic surgeon in the greater Nashua area. She's a wise ass, and so I've had my buddy Al does it. This guy I know in Londonderry.
Okay. Bill Munson, another one of my college roommates.
Billy.
But I grew up in the same neighborhood as Bill.
Sure.
I've known Bill since, I'm older than him, so I guess I've known him his whole life. Which does he hate more, Dasani water or just voted stickers?
Billy's great. So I've known Munson forever. He's coached at the high school. He coached Sean in football and in lacrosse. That's kind of a running joke between. Actually, I think my son Sean ratted me out with that to Munson. So I joke with him. I said, neither. What I really hate the most is light beer. So he'll get a kick out of that. So
I will say this: I don't have a problem with Dasani water. But sometimes I just voted stickers are a little annoying.
Yeah, I joke about it. It's like over the top. So we need credit for that too.
Yeah,
it's great. You should vote. It's awesome. But do we need a sticker for it?
It's like going to the doctor and when you're a kid, they give you
a sticker. That's fine when you're 4.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny how social media works, though.
It most certainly is.
And I guess the question is, and maybe I'll ask you, do you think the voting stickers and all the posts on Facebook are getting more people voting, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, stickers are fine if they want to give them out, fine. But
Yeah.
I think it's kind of comical. But I mean, we've been voting in this country since the beginning of time. It's awesome. You know, not every country can. You know, so
Yeah.
should you vote? Absolutely. I think it's awesome. But I don't think we need a pat in the back every time we do it.
I might just next election I might take the sticker and take a picture and just direct message it to you.
Oh, that's fun. Munson has done that.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, sure, without a doubt, absolutely.
Oh man, I wrote this wrong. Spray on sunscreen or leftist nonsense.
That was from one of my high school buddies.
Jim Deher.
Jim Donner. That's a kid
Donner.
I grew up with in high school. He's just being a wise SOB. That's all that is. But yeah, we joke about that too. Spray on sunscreen, really? It ends up in the person behind you. It ends up all over the place.
Do you think it's not as effective?
I don't think it works at all, but what the hell do I know? I
Yeah.
mean, you should definitely use sunscreen, but
Yeah.
put on the real stuff.
Too funny. Let's see. John Gilio, and I used to work with him at iParty when I was in high school. No question.
I remember that stuff.
Yeah, that was my first job was umpiring. I would umpire Cal Ripken. It was Bambino at the time, but Cal Ripken games. And then it was the most miserable. I could never. I don't know how people do that for a living. I worked at Modell's as a retail. That was great. But working at iParty was probably the worst job I've ever had. But he wants to know, no questions, but a big fan of performance rehab and Jerry's taste in watches.
Watches. I do like watches.
What do we have here today?
I got a pretty nice one today, but I do like watches. So it's funny how we noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to wear it. I just can't do it anymore. Linda Ryan, do you know the Ryan family at all?
The Ryan, that name sounds very familiar.
Chris Ryan, he's still playing.
Ryan,
he still plays rugby to this day. Sean Ryan.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yep.
So Linda Ryan's their mom. She taught at Pennachuck.
Yes, okay, yep.
Awesome person. She just says he's great.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to hear that.
So, let's see. Chase Grinley. I don't know if you remember him. Chase was a pretty good baseball player.
Okay.
He just said awesome guest. It's
Did he play for Charlie Mellon probably back in the day? Or BJ?
He might have.
Yeah.
He might have.
Yeah.
The Grinleys were always his cousin Jim Grinley was always a great baseball player. I'm not. It's all hazy now that I'm old. Like where everybody did it. Who played for the high school team? Who played senior Babe Ruth? Who played Legion? I can't really remember. Another one. Joe Hinkle says he's a legend. Joe Hinkle. What I will say. So I didn't play football at Nashua High, but I did play at Pennachuck for a little bit. Joe was the only guy I can ever remember that played football with his glasses on when we were in school.
I'm trying to think if he had rec specs or did he just have
when he first started.
Yeah, regular glasses. Al Roden had rec specs back in the day.
Okay.
He looked like J.J. Jefferson, the guy who used to play for the Chargers 100 years ago. But yeah, we've had one or two. I always try to tell a kid, if you can afford it, really get like the sport goggles or the rec specs because glasses are pretty expensive and you break them and your parents won't be too happy, that's for sure.
Not at all. My sight started to go when I was younger, and when I got to college, I played rugby.
Yep.
You can't wear, because I wasn't wearing contacts at that point.
Yep.
I started 2 rugby games blind.
Yep.
On the wing. It was very, very dangerous what I was doing, and I don't know how I made it through. Craig, you got to know the Francor
Absolutely.
family. Craig Francor
yeah.
says absolute legend.
Wow, again, that's very nice, Craig. Thank you. I definitely remember Craig.
Yeah, the Francors, that's another, if you're
Big
from
name in
Nashua, you
town.
probably know
Absolutely.
who they are,
Without a doubt.
All right, want to get into some top 5s here. First, this is going to be an interesting one, and I'm curious to what your answer is going to be on here. Top 5 Nashua athletes in your time.
Well, so I'm going to bend the rules.
You can throw out as many as you want.
I'm going to bend the rules a little bit only because I've been old. So I actually wrote some stuff down here. And I'm going to leave out a zillion people, but some things just came to the top of my head. Right off the bat, the IE boys, Cole and Femi, right from the jump.
And so if we can say, too, if they do have a back, because those are 2 guys, at least one, Cole, right?
Cole ended up playing in the NFL. Femi had a great career down at Delaware. He's actually just moved back to the area for people who know him. You'll be seeing him in Nashua. Yeah, he's just moving back to the area. So those two right from the jump. And then Aaron Grekus, phenomenal athlete. You know, you being a baseball guy, Aaron was a tremendous three-sport athlete, tremendous. Coach Knight's son, Trevor Knight, awesome player, awesome. How about Mickey Sununa? You remember Mickey, tremendous basketball player. She was phenomenal player, phenomenal. Another great female athlete, Jen Brickey.
I grew up in the same neighborhood as Jen Brickey. Yeah.
And I'm going to get S for this, but I don't care. My son, Sean, he went to Nashua South. He was a great three-sport athlete there. Played for Scott Knight, played for Nate Mazzaro, played for Billy Munson. And then I'm going to go now Nashua North. Troy Bowen, tremendous athlete. He actually graduated from North. He would have been a South. He played for the Panthers, and then when North opened up, that's the school he went to. Brad Zapenis, tremendous athlete himself, went to BC. Got drafted by the Cubs.
That's right. Yeah.
Brad was actually a three-sport athlete. He didn't play football, I think, his senior year, but tremendous basketball, tremendous baseball. I believe he was the Gatorade Player of the Year.
Does he have like a trophy case? Do they have some?
He's
trophy
in something at North, something
yeah.
with the Cubs. I actually have one of his baseball cards. He gave me when he was in the minor leagues.
I was going to ask too. Did Garekis? I think he graduated in '99.
He was on the in football when they won in '97. So he graduated. So he was a junior in that team. So yeah, '99. He was the quarterback of that '97.
Did the Mets approach him, or am I remembering that wrong?
He went to a college down in Texas, San Jacinto, I believe it's called, a junior college. I believe Roger Clemens went to.
Okay.
He was a phenomenal. Aaron was a tremendous athlete.
And I did want to give a shout out to Troy Bowen too, because
awesome.
Troy played for SNHU from what I remember.
He actually went to. He might have went to UNC High Point first because he went down to Carolina. Phenomenal basketball, just a phenomenal athlete. Period. Can't forget, of course, Kendall Reyes, NFL, tremendous player. Just recently, Curtis Harris Lopez. He's at Holy Cross now. He won a state title in football. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year. Brandon Carcanis. He played baseball. I think he won a state title in baseball. He was a quarterback for Roby's teams that went to the finals 2 years in a row.
Okay.
And then a tremendous female hooper, Kelsey Hogan, who's now the head coach at UNH. She's
is
phenomenal.
she really?
Yeah, and I know I missed a lot of people, but
yeah.
Those are the ones that. Like, I could go on and on. There's so many more, but most of these were multi-sport athletes.
Is it fair to say, though, I guess, at the end of the day, is Kendall the most successful athlete that we've probably had in Nashua?
Probably in the pro level. It's funny because, and he'd be the first to tell you, he was a much better college and pro player. He was a tremendous high school player, but he's a hell of a nice guy. I know you know him. He had him on here, and a super personable guy. He had, what was he in the league? 6 years, I believe, something like that. Had a great career, and a great person, as you know. So.
Awesome, and I have to say, Kendall, shout out because he's doing the realtor stuff.
Correct.
But I don't know if you've seen the video going around that he did on Nashua, just talking about like the community and all the things that we have here. People were sharing it left and right. I know it was, it's him promoting his business, but he's also promoting the city.
He's from here,
and it was like he knocked it out the park.
Yeah.
He's
a very personal guy. He's got a beautiful wife, a bunch of children. He's crushing it. He's doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, awesome guy. I just hated that when they beat Notre Dame. I even told him that on the show. I said, Kendall literally, Jimmy Clausen was still the quarterback.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm watching the game. I'm half rooting. I want Kendall to win, but at the same time, Notre Dame is my team.
Right.
So he has a sack on Jimmy Clausen that leads to a fumble. Gets picked up. I think they score the touchdown, goes into overtime. And UConn beat Notre Dame.
Right.
And I was like, I'm so torn right now.
Sure.
So I ran to the, this was when Kendall was a little younger, nothing bad, but I said, hey, you knocked out my boy Claus. And he goes, yeah, he's a B. And I was like, but,
nice.
and Kendall's on the show. He thinks that they might have got Charlie Weiss fired.
That's interesting.
He
was on a tremendous team, UConn. I mean, they were rolling. They was a tremendous team. And funny story about, so when he got drafted, so for years we've been fortunate. We go down to Aruba, timeshare, and we're down there. Sean, I forget the year that he got drafted, but Sean said, "Hey, we're staying in tonight, Dad. We're not going out to dinner." I said, "What are you talking about? We're in Aruba. We're going out." He goes, "Draft tonight. I want to see where Kendall's going to get drafted." And he barely knew who he was, but he knew enough. And I joke with Kendall. I tell him, I go, "You owe me a dinner," because I had to sit inside eating some fast food, and we watched him come up on the screen. And I've told Kendall that story. But, yeah, that was pretty cool watching him come up. The pick right after the Patriots. The Patriots picked Dante Hightower, and I think he was the very next person.
Oh, wow.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Kendall would remember that.
I remember that draft because I don't think he was 48 overall, I think.
I forget the number,
But yeah, he was taken on the Friday night, I believe.
I think it was a Thursday, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
But I remember watching. He would know exactly. Obviously, the next time you see him, ask him. But he'd remember.
Anybody else that sticks out that's made to the Is it really just Cole?
Cole, he was with the Patriots. We were fortunate when he was with St. Louis, and then he got picked up by the Pats at the end of the season, and he called me. And he had tickets for myself and Coach Bill Hardy. We went to see the game at Fox. Was the last game of the regular season, and that was a tremendous thrill. And Coach Neville was there that night, and Bill Stump was there. It was awesome to see him on the field. And unfortunately, he had a little injury, but he was a Super Bowl champion. He's got the ring and everything, and it was pretty impressive.
It's pretty wild.
Yes, absolutely.
When I was growing up, before I knew Triple H was from Nashua, I thought nobody from Nashua would ever go to think of somebody from my hometown making the pros is it's just kind of cool.
Sure.
Sure. Any coaches over I know I didn't have this in the agenda, but any coaches that stick out in your head?
In the beginning, I didn't actually, work with him directly, but the late, great Ken Parody was super nice to me when I first came to town. Of course, you had Paul Bellavance. Belly's still around. Charlie Mellon was coaching the baseball team. The great late John Fagula, obviously. The late great Pauline Albert.
Is that track?
Track, phenomenal. Yeah. She was awesome. She was awesome. We had Bob DeMello, again, tremendous coach. Billy Hardy, phenomenal. Bobby Aylwood, who coached football with us for a short time. Great guy. Yeah, we've been fortunate. We've had some interesting characters over the years, some great coaches. BJ never coached forever. Just
he was
recently retired.
Absolutely. As well.
Absolutely. Yep. So some good people over the years. Artie Cobbs, he's still coaching track.
He's still there?
Oh, Artie, you could tell. We could have a podcast just on him alone.
Yeah.
Some really good people. Yeah, over the years, it's been great. And then some of the people go on, like, Mickey Sununu ended up coaching over at Alvern. She did phenomenal over there, of course. And but yeah, I've been around some good ones.
Bellavance was the wrestling coach, right?
He was great. He was an assistant football coach as well with Ken Parody. And then he started, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, he started the wrestling program.
Yeah, because I always would hear about him because I wrestled, but I knew, but he actually never wrestled.
He didn't. I think he wanted to be the head football coach, and I think Buzz Harvey hired Ken Parody, and then he said he wanted to start a wrestling program, and so Billy took that over, and as you know, they were tough.
Well, it's kind of not anything to say about my time wrestling. Wrestling was always my passion, but we didn't win state championships when I was there. But you'd walk around the gym and see all these championships, and you're like, man, how do we? At this point, Timberlane is just. Even then, they were just in two different divisions. There's been no stopping them for.
They've been phenomenal for a while.
40 years.
Their legendary coach did retire, but
he did?
It was a couple of years ago when one of his assistants took over, and that train is still rolling for sure.
Yeah, it's never going to end, but it is what it is. But I remember being very bitter there, and I remember going to Timberlane. It was always so hostile.
Yeah, sure. You always want to beat the best.
And that place, hostile environment. But top 5 movies.
All right, so I got some lists again here. It's just going to help me, and it's funny. After I looked at them, you're going to think, Jesus, what the hell does this guy watch? But I'm going to throw them out there. Listen, Godfather 1 and 2. End of story, right?
No debates over here.
Goodfellas.
That's my favorite movie.
Shawshank Redemption. Hey, Mystic River was a phenomenal movie. The Town. Donnie Brasco, I just saw that again. I could go on. just obviously some great, comedies and stuff like that, Anchorman and so on and so forth, But when I looked at those, I go, man, there's a certain theme to those movies. But
I love mob movies.
All great acting.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Well, I was gonna say though, you're an Irish guy. Do you like The Departed?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was on my short list as well. The Departed was excellent for sure. Yeah. Alec Baldwin, lousy Boston accent in it, but that movie was great. Yeah, it was.
There was so much good to that.
Yeah,
and then you had two Boston guys in it, Wahlberg and Damon.
Absolutely, yeah. And Jack Nicholson, he did a great job as the Whitey Bulger character.
Yeah,
he did it. It was good. Yeah,
it was very to the Whitey Bulger story.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Did you see, what's the Whitey Bulger? Because they made a movie.
Oh, Black Mask with Johnny Depp, who was very good in that.
Yeah,
he played a very good part. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I love all the I'm a big mob movie fan.
They're usually all pretty darn good. One mob movie that disappointed me was The Irishman. I was hoping that was going to be better.
I heard it was so. I haven't done it because it's long.
Too long. It just Pesci was tremendous in that. If you check it out, just for him alone. But it was just a little too long, and kind of hoping it would be better. Getting all those great actors together. They hadn't been together in a long time, but just somewhat underwhelming, I guess would be the term.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I mean, all those guys are not. They're older now.
Sure, absolutely.
It's the same thing with the new Batman movie. Once I saw how long something was, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that.
I did go to that. My Sean, when he was home, he goes, hey, do you want to go check it out? And I'm like, it was good. It was different.
Yeah.
And that was it. Robert Pattinson, the lead.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
He was very good. It's a different spin on it, and it was good. Yeah. It was quirky as hell, but the villain was excellent. So if you're into that, check it out. I think you'll probably like it.
Well, the rumor. I don't know if you saw the Joker with. Can't think of his name right now, but the newer one.
Right. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. That was pretty. Yeah. He's amazing. It's not. It's Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix, right, yes. Right. That's. I can't believe I couldn't think of that. All right, top 5 musical artists.
So I'm definitely a music fan. I'm kind of all over the map here, so I'm just going to make it U2, Dire Straits, and this is going to be The Clash, Rage Against the Machine, and I was just at a music festival with my son Sean, so this is going to throw you, but these two bands were phenomenal. 9 Inch Nails and Metallica, we saw them just recently. So a lot of people might not think I listened to that, but it was absolutely amazing. So I've seen all those bands I listed. Actually, I haven't seen Rage. I'd like to see them, but I have a lot of good discussions with music with Nate Mazzaro, actually. He's a big music guy.
That's a basketball coach, right?
Absolutely, yep. And you might think, Nate is a great guy, and he's a big music guy, so we talk about different things. But I like all kinds. I like a lot more than that. I love Jimmy Buffett, and I love all kinds of stuff, but I like sometimes some music with a little bit of an edge is a good thing.
I think Metallica is going to go down as one of the greatest bands of all time.
They were phenomenal live. I mean, they're as old as me, and they were phenomenal. And experiencing it with my son, it was a great thrill. Yeah, I saw 9 Inch Nails like 25 years ago. I didn't know what to expect. Absolutely phenomenal. They were just it was at Harvard too. It was kind of wild.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Boston Calling, that music. It was great. It was a good time.
I gotta say, in Metallica, we kind of have music the way it is now because of them. Remember when Napster came out?
Absolutely, yeah.
Lars Ulrich was the one to be like, hey, that's stealing our music, which
I can't blame them.
I agree with him.
I can't. I know they caught a lot of flack for that, but that's their thing, and you should be paid for what you do. I get it. And if you don't want to pay for it, then don't. But if you want it, so I had no problem with him. I knew they caught a lot of grief for that. They just thought, well, they're well off and this and that. Well, they're well off because they work hard and people like their music. So.
Well, when you're an artist, that's just taking it without your permission.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I used to tape stuff off the radio.
Oh, cassette players, all that kind of stuff. Sure. Absolutely.
So I'd be like, oh, that song's on. Yeah, hit record.
Absolutely, hit the record button.
All right, top 5 TV shows. Curious about this.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to refer back to my list here because. Obviously I'm a little older than you, my TV shows, so I'm going to mix this up a little bit too. So when I was younger, MASH and All in the Family, it's like tremendous shows. Like when I was a real little kid, the Brady Bunch, but we're getting to it. And then this trifecta is I think goes right together. Seinfeld, The Office, Parks and Rec. I mean, those three classics, right?
Some of the best,
Considered
funniest
one.
shows ever.
Then we're going to get off the grid a little bit. Breaking Bad. I mean, come on. Like
I've been rewatching that more. Like,
Yeah.
I fell off on that show in 2012, maybe.
Yep.
Went back, finished it, and now I'm like rewatching episodes again
Unbelievable
because it's
acting.
just so good.
Walter White, tremendous. Obviously, The Sopranos, one of the greatest TV. That goes without saying.
My favorite
right
show
up
of
there
all
with
time.
The Mob, you know.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple other ones that are off the grid here. Ozark, that was a tremendous show. Succession, I like that a lot. Dexter, weird as hell, but some great
So good.
acting. You got to like Sons of Anarchy, and who the hell doesn't like the Peaky Blinders, right?
I keep hearing this.
You got to check it out.
It's that good.
Oh man, you might need some subtitles because they're thick accents, but it's great. I think it's great. So yeah,
See,
Peaky Blinders.
I like that list. I finished Ozark. I literally watched the first 3 seasons in 1 week. Someone was like, "No, you got to do this," and I'm like staying up, going like, "I got to work in the morning. What am I doing right now?"
Right. Netflix is like a drug. It just
It comes
just
right back
one
up.
more.
It's like you don't have to do anything. It just runs in the next
Sure,
one.
Right.
Do you have a favorite? Like The Sopranos is my all-time favorite show. I talk about that
It's
show
tremendous.
all the time.
Yeah, it's tough to be. I mean, you could if it comes on or what. I'd watch an episode. I mean, it's just even though I've seen it, it's like Godfather 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You know it, but it's just
so
tremendous
good.
acting. Goodfellas. I mean, how can you not watch that? I mean, it's just some great acting.
Any favorite Sopranos like episodes or scenes that you can
God.
think of?
One we probably couldn't say on TV. I mean, there was some stuff on that show. It was something else. Little Steven Van Zandt, who was on that, was part of Bruce Springsteen's band.
Yeah.
You probably know. He's not an actor, and he was just going to be on there as a throw-in because I think David Chase, who writes it, is a huge Springsteen fan.
Yeah.
So he played a tremendous part, like throughout. He survived too, if I'm not mistaken. He's not one that got kind of whacked.
No, he made it. He
made it through.
I remember when they killed off Bobby. I was like, no.
That was tough. Yeah, Bobby. Yeah. He played a great part.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, Tony's sister, she played a great.
Yes.
His mother. Oh my God.
They were just like, that is what changed television, in my opinion.
I think you're probably right there because now, I mean, I watch very little network other than like pro sports. I don't think I really watch any network television because, with Netflix and Amazon Prime, these other services, like the acting's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozark, that's a great, just the way it's filmed, the whole bit.
And to me, in my opinion, to be a great show, the rewatchability has to be there, and Ozark has that.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, let's get into my favorite segment of the show, which is blank versus blank. Going to give you 2 things. We don't prep you for this.
Right.
I'm going to give you 2 things. You got to pick one and tell me why.
All right.
I'm going to hit you with the hard one right away.
All right.
And we asked
Go ahead.
everybody this. The New England Patriots had a very successful 20 years, probably the best in NFL history. But everybody's debating who is really the main person behind that.
Right.
Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Well, it's interesting, everybody initially was kind of jumping on the bandwagon of Belichick, who's a phenomenal, best football coach ever. But the way I break it down is this. When I was a kid, when the Bruins won, when I was little, it was Bobby Orr and Derek Sanderson. People weren't thinking of Harry Sinden, who was the coach at the time. When the Red Sox won in 2004, Francona was great, but who are you thinking of? You're thinking of Pedro. You're thinking of Manny. You're thinking of Schilling, right? When the Celtics won, yeah, Red Auerbach is an icon, but it's Bill Russell initially, and Tommy Heinsohn and Cousy, and then, when Bird won it later on. So I got to go with Tom because, we're witnessing the greatest football player, and I know some of my Giant fans won't like that, but what he did was absolutely phenomenal. And it kind of coincided with my son is 22, all he's seen is winners, and it's kind of cool for him to kind of follow Brady's career because Sean was a quarterback as well, and it's been a great run. So I'd have to say Tom. No disrespect to Bill, he's phenomenal. He's the best at what he does. But any coach, you got to have players. If you can be a tremendous coach, but you need the players, and he's proven that. I think so.
Do you think, because this theory keeps coming up, Tom ran Bruce Arians out of Tampa?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think Arians is a little bit older. I definitely think when he flew over to England to talk to, I think it was Glazier, who owns, I don't know, it's not Liverpool, but some English Premier team, that he had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
I believe that for sure. And I think Bruce, he's been doing this long enough. He got his ring. He has a certain personality. He said, okay, fine, and whatever. I'm sure there's more behind the scenes, for sure.
He got it tattooed on him, too, when they won. I'm a big wrestling fan. These are two guys that have transcended wrestling into Hollywood. Would you rather watch Hulk Hogan or The Rock?
I mean, The Rock is a better actor, of course. I mean, I'll throw something at you. When I was a kid, wrestling was only on Saturday mornings. And I remember wrestlers like Haystacks Calhoun and Bruno Sammartino and Chief J. Strongbow and Mr. Fuji and Toro Tanaka and Pedro Morale. Like, they're the names when I was a kid. I remembered all those. And it's amazing how, because I know you're a huge wrestling guy, and I have a few patients that are really into it. I mean, but probably, I mean, The Rock has obviously proven that he's taken it to the next level, for sure.
It's insane. I can't believe, like, he's literally the highest paid actor in Hollywood. Who would you rather have pitch for you, Pedro or Clemens?
Pedro, all day, every day. Absolutely.
Not even a question.
Listen, Roger was great, but there's obviously some controversy of how it got that way. But Pedro, for his size in particular, I mean, you talk to any Yankee fan, and they will say, like, Pedro's the one who would still fear. And he was must-see TV when he pitched, as you remember. When he was on the mound, you made sure you were watching that.
That was such a signing. I remember when he came in 98 or 99, because he shut down. He was really good in 99. I don't know if he came in 98. I'd have to look at it.
It was Dan Duquette brought him in.
Yeah, Duquette.
Yep.
Duquette did big things. He just didn't do well here in Nashua when he had a baseball team.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if you're into this, but I am become a huge MLR fan. Really depressed about the Free Jacks losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. But if you had to watch an MLR game or an XFL game, what would you probably watch?
The MLR. Yeah, the rugby probably. I don't understand all the rules to it, but I know you're a big rugby guy. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I watch those 7-on-7s, the sevens, rather it's called. It's like, it would be on NBC Sports sometimes. That's pretty cool, you know. You see a lot of kids who play high school football go on to college and play rugby. It's quite a bit. So I would do the rugby. No, the XFL is fine, but the NFL is where it's at.
Yeah.
Or high-level NCAA.
I totally agree. I definitely. It was such a fun season and getting to Quincy.
Down in Quincy, I think.
Yeah.
I played high school football there a long time ago.
It's a good venue for that because they're not going to draw they're not going to draw huge numbers yet.
Right.
But it's a perfect stadium.
Good.
Easy to get a beer there if you want one.
Yep.
You know, Aerosmith or Journey?
Aerosmith all day. All day. Journey. My wife is laughing right now. There's some Journey jokes, but Aerosmith for sure.
I guess Steven Tyler was sick, but he was like...
I think he might have, I don't know if he had a relapse or something's up. I think Joe Perry's actually going to be at the casino this summer.
Oh, really?
Playing with some solo stuff. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, too, I think Steven Tyler's parents live in Nashua at the...
I believe they have passed, and they used to be at, I think, Hunt Community Home. And actually, interesting story with that, because a lot of the student athletes worked throughout, like you did, and a bunch of them worked there. And they said Steven would come in, and they said he was great to the staff. He said he didn't come in like this rock and roll. He was super nice to everybody. He appreciated what they did for his parents, so that was pretty cool to hear.
That's awesome. This is a heated debate on Facebook quite a bit. Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan all day, every day.
Are you a LeBron hater, though? Or
I'm not a hater, but I don't think he is, he's not Jordan. I'm a huge Celtics guy, huge. I was fortunate enough when I was able to do some stuff because of Ed Lacerte with the Celtics a long time ago, and being up close and seeing what Michael did. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. And what was Larry's line? That's God masquerading as a basketball player. I think he said something along that line. Listen, LeBron's a great player, but the game is different. He's built like a tight end and always complaining of fouls, like unfortunately a lot of the NBA players do. But no, Jordan, absolutely, in my opinion.
Do you think Jordan stays if they never get Pippen? If they never get to that next level?
I think everybody needed a second in command, right? You had to have somebody, and as soon as Pippen came, that's when I was at the game when he scored 63 points against the Celtics and lost. So he knew he had to do something.
Because he never got past the Celtics when they were still like the Celtics at the time.
Right.
I always love that question because I think LeBron's a better athlete, but I can see where people are saying Jordan's a better winner.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, in my humble opinion.
All right, toughest one in blank versus blank. You can only do one. One goes away. Do you want to work in the schools or work in performance?
Well, performance is the engine that drives the train. That's how my family started, and we're fortunate to have the life we had because of that. Obviously, the high school's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, but performance has been the dream of Michelle and I since we were in college. So
It is crazy that because you're right next to and how long has the building been right next to South?
well, we've been in that building for 30 years. This is our 30th year, and that didn't happen by accident for us. You know, it just made sense, and people appreciated students, athletes being literally able to walk across the street. You know, parents didn't have to leave work to have Johnny or Susie come over, and yeah, that was on purpose for sure.
You guys do an awesome job, and I really appreciate you coming on, Jerry. This has been so much fun.
Thank you very much. It's been a thrill. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, and we'll have to do it again another time. So, but everybody out there, again, Nick, I'm not sure what your gripe is with me. You know, if you could just return my calls, I'd appreciate that. But everybody out there, keep your heads up. Have a great week, and until next time, let freedom ring.